Okay, so this is comment from Honor Break Payan. So it says, "Hi, good evening. After watching this clip, my question is why and what's the exact reason for adding 3 liters twice and draining? Why not just drain the whole ATF and add the required liters needed to the gearbox? Thanks for your anticipated response." So this was a comment on a video I did on how to drain or change ATF on ZF4HP20 automatic transmission in a 407. So what you need to understand is automatic transmission is made up of two independent components. One is the torque converter, while the other is the gearbox itself. So the torque converter is attached on the gearbox. So what happens? Each on average, gearbox automatic gearboxes takes about 7 liters of ATF or oil. Of course, it could be lesser or it could be higher, but like I said, on average. So let's assume that gearbox that I serviced that day on that video had 7 liters overall. Half, like three out of the 7 liters, or let's say 4 out of the 7 liters will be in the torque converter, while the remaining 3 liters will be inside the gearbox. So or you could say half of the 7 liters will be in the torque converter, while the remaining half will be inside the gearbox. So once the engine stop running, the other half, the one in the torque converter, will be trapped there, while the one in the gearbox will also be trapped in the gearbox. So what is happening as engine is running, there is an oil pump inside the gearbox. So the oil pump is circulating the oil, just like you have like with the engine. So the oil pump is circulating oil from the cylinder head, the upper part of the engine, to the lower part of the engine. Likewise, like we have water pump. The water pump is circulating water from the radiator to the engine, and from engine back to radiator. So I think the water pump illustration or example is better to explain this. So the oil pump is moving the oil around. So inside the automatic gearbox, as the engine is running and the gearbox is running, the oil pump is doing that, circulating the oil, moving it from the torque converter to the gearbox, and inside the gearbox is circulating it and the rest. So in other words, it's doing the transfer of the fluid from one component to the other, from torque converter to the gearbox, from gearbox to the torque converter. So understand that. So when you switch off the engine, the oil pump stop running. Oil pump is mechanical, so it's not electronics that you could switch on ignition and you start running. No, it's mechanical. So at least the gearboxes I know, it's possible that newer gearboxes now have electronic water oil pump inside the gearbox. I don't know. I'm just telling you the ones I know so far. So when you switch, when you now drain, so you drain when you want to service your automatic gearbox or change oil on the automatic gearbox. So you only drain from the gearbox, not the torque converter. Torque converter has a cylinder shape, so which is attached on the gearbox from the bell housing. So when you drain the oil, what will only come out will be the one trapped, the liters trapped inside the gearbox. So if it's 3 liters, that's what will come out. If it's 4 liters, that's what will come out, while the one on the torque converter remains there. So when you drain that half or 3 liters from the gearbox, and you now pour the fresh one, maybe another 3 liters, that means the old 3 liters, the one trap in the torque converter will stay there, while the fresh one you pour in will stay in the automatic gearbox or the gearbox itself. So when you now start the engine or run the vehicle, then it will mix up again. The oil pump will start its work, so it will mix both the old and the new. So in that case, because you wouldn't want the oil in your gearbox to be mostly old oil, since your intention is to change the oil. Because I realize that most times the oil you find in the torque converter tend to be more than the one trapped in the gearbox when you do a drain or flush. So you wouldn't want old oil to be more than the fresh oil. So the reason why we do that 3 times, like 2 or 3 or even more oil drain when you want to service your automatic gearbox is when you start and it mixes up again. So what now happens is the first new oil that goes in, when you start the engine, you probably have like maybe 40% of fresh oil inside both the gearbox and the torque converter, as it has mixed up. So you drain it again, pour another one, same thing happens, it mixes up. So the more you drain, the more it reduces the quantity. Even though the fresh oil, some of the fresh oil will also be coming out as you are draining. But remember, it has already mixed up with the old oil. So as you are doing that, you are reducing the quantity of the old oil until you get a point. It might not necessarily get everything out. We could say maybe 80% of old oil will go out maybe after the third drain or something like that. It could go up to 4. In fact, you can actually do a total complete flush, depending on how you want to go about it. I don't know if that, I'm not sure that is recommended for Peugeot automatic transmission in Peugeot vehicles, at least like the 4HP20, AM6 and the rest. But there are people that could do flush. They have their machines that has fluid inside them. So what they'll connect it from the oil filler on the gearbox, then remove the drain plug. So I think that one, I don't know how they do it. They have to start the engine as it's running. They are pumping the fluid. So it's removing both the one in torque converter and the gearbox at the same time. As it's draining completely, his new one is coming in, is draining. So I also think there are gearboxes that are also designed maybe with different drain plug or this and that for that. I don't know much about that system. I've never done it. But so this debate, that one in that case will take more fluid. But you stand a chance to drain everything. You now have almost like 99.9% of fresh fluid in the gearbox, if that's how you want to go about that. But this method I showed on the video is just the less expensive way of doing that, because it won't take much fluid compared to the one you use that machine to with air with pressure to force out the old oil. So that's the reason for that. Now if you are, for example, let's assume you've used automatic gearbox for like 100,000 kilometers without changing the ATF. And now maybe at about 120,000 kilometers, you decide to change it. Or maybe more than that, you decide to change it for the first time on the vehicle. What you find that when you do that drain, the color of all ATF that will come out, the first one will be very horrible. It may not be that bad, but it will, normally this ATF, their color is like red. They just call it red. It's not like completely red color, but it has that reddish color. So it will be like red, to look like red. But when the old one, if it's that bad, if you use ATF for a long on the gearbox without draining it, the first time you drain it, it will look blackish. The more black it looks, the more chances that your gearbox has been damaged. Something has damaged inside your gearbox because of the bad ATF. Because the ATF most likely has deteriorated to the point that it has burned something, maybe um, I don't know what they call it. Some call it fiber, and or the crush inside the gearbox, or whatever, for something must have failed because of weak oil. Of course, if you keep running oil without changing it, you get a point it will no longer do its work. It will lose the viscosity, so it start damaging. It's more like become, cause those metal things will start to run friction by friction and start wearing out. So which will now discolor the oil badly. Some will even start smelling. My point is, even if it hasn't got it to that point, but when you use it for too long and do that first drain, you see the color will be close to very black color. Then you pour the fresh one, do it again. The second time you do it, you see that it will now reduce. It might still be a little bit black or something, but it won't be as dark black as the first one you drain. Then maybe the third one you do, you see that by that time the third one, the color that will come out might be almost exactly the same color you poured in. That red color, right red color. So in that case, you could say maybe at least now most of the old ATF, both inside the gearbox and the torque converter, have been removed. But there are cases where even after the third drain, in that case, like when the gearbox have already failed, even after the others, something is already bad, the harm has been done. Let's just say the old ATF has already done harm inside the gearbox. You see that even after that third drain, in fact, that first one usually will look so black and like something is already wrong. See, automatic transmission ATF is not supposed to look like engine oil when you drain, like when you are draining engine oil. The oil is expected to look black, especially once you have used it for over like 5,000 kilometers or thereabout. But ATF is supposed to still maintain red color when you change it. If you follow manufacturer's instruction, though sometimes manufacturers, try to woo customers to by extending the duration year or mileage instead of reducing it, so that because they know the cost of changing ATF is not that cheap. So, but if you follow expert advice, in this case, it will save you from having automatic gearbox issue. So the expert will always tell you change at least every 30, some will say 30,000 miles, but me I will just say 30,000 kilometers. Because miles is a little bit higher. For me, just maintain 30,000 kilometers. Even if it's too low, it's still safer compared to changing the gearbox. So there was this case. It's actually an 86 um, 86 automatic transmission, which you find in like 508 and 308. I mean, pay attention to what I'm saying here, so because this might save you. So that's the 86. This one was attached on Peugeot, that's THP Peugeot engine. That's supercharged engine. So the owner used the car until it got to about 90, I think it was like 80 to 90,000 kilometers from new. It wasn't changed, nothing was done there. So then suddenly it started to have failing automatic transmission symptoms. Like boom, you're driving, you may make that boom sound, or kind of sometimes it will do as no, it wasn't sleeping. It wasn't sleeping. But it was, once gearbox wants to fail, sometimes you just be getting some symptoms. So it was doing that. So we are like, okay, let's change it. Even though it's ATCs, they are not known for having automatic transmission problem. I mean, it's among the best in terms of durability on Peugeot automatic transmissions, or Peugeot vehicles with automatic transmission is among the best or the most durable. Among, I'm not saying it's the only one. So the first one, so we bought 9 liters. Was it 9 or 10 or 12? Can't forgotten, because we did up to 10 or up to 3 or more drain. The first one that came out, wow! I mean, you need to see this oil. It was that bad. It was that bad that, as in, it was darkish. I can't remember if it was smelling burnt, but it was so dark as if it was engine oil. So we poured the ATC also takes 3 liters. So do I need pour the first 3 liters fresh one? So I was like, no, in this case I need to drive the car even for just few kilometers. Took it for a drive so that both the one in torque converter and the gearbox will mix up very well. So before we drain, took it, I think, how many kilometer drive? Maybe 10 or up to 50 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken. Forgot it. Came back, drain it again. It was as if the more even the second one looks exactly, or I wouldn't say worse than the first drain. There was no difference. Yet I've already put 3 liters of fresh oil, which is supposed to mix with maybe the other remaining 3 or 4 liters in the torque converter. So it's supposed to have a little bit improvement in terms of the color of the ATF that will come out on the second drain. But this time, nothing. Drove it the car again, few kilometers, came back, drove it again, as in it was that bad. So I think we did it like 3 drain or 4 drain. So I told you, I mean, it's most likely the way this thing is that the harm has already been done. However, I mean, well, maybe instead of keep draining it, you might, in that case, you might end up spending more than, or using more than 20 liters for this color to change. So it was like, okay, let's leave it at that. I think it was 9 liters that we used, if I'm not mistaken. Let's leave it like that, so that after some kilometers, maybe we use the car for a while. Maybe after a month or so, they will do another flush. We call it flush, or another service like that. Use another 9 liters. So yeah, that happened, and started using the car. The symptom didn't go away; it remained. It was, because it was when it started at a point, it started getting worse until it get a point that was why we're like, okay, let's start with changing the ATF. Maybe it's ATF. But obviously the harm has been done. So even after changing the ATF, there was no improvement. It was with those symptoms. They didn't go away. It was just still behaving as if it wants to fail. So it kept getting worse. He started using it. I think it was even, I'm not sure whether it even lasted 3 months after that. I can't remember exactly what happened. One day the gearbox just stopped running. It just packed up while the car was in motion. It has to be towed and the gearbox replaced. It has to be replaced. So in that case, the harm was already done. So it didn't matter how many ATF you keep changing and change, even if you want empty everything. It has happened. It has happened. So so my advice in this case is, if you have the automatic transmission Peugeot vehicle or any vehicle, do not exceed 30,000 kilometers, especially from new. Unfortunately, I know most Nigerians or people buy used car. Not even just limit. I don't want to limit it to Nigerians anymore. Most people buy only. Um, Most people buy used vehicles. So in this case, this person bought it new. So It wasn't as if somebody used it and changed, put a different ATF, non-recommended one. So it was from new. But eventually it got to like 90 or 100,000 kilos. So the idea that, yeah, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. It might not serve you. It might cost you that gearbox. Maybe on some other things you can apply that maintenance call or method, but in this case, no. For automatic transmission, no. You have to be careful. The more the ATFs keep deteriorating, the more harm it will be doing inside your gearbox. So even by the time you might decide, once the symptom starts, it's only lucky ones. For example, I'll give you another example. I have somebody that drives this one first one I explained will happen in Peugeot 3008. Now this second one is 407 V6, so AMCs. So the person um was driving a 407. He bought this 407 at very low mileage, 407 V6. He bought it direct to Kumbu, not Nigeria use. So the transmission hasn't even been touched. Think about between 20 to 30,000 kilometer mileage. That's how why he bought the car. Direct, as in nothing has been touched. So he started using the car. I don't even know whether it got to 50,000 kilometers or maybe 60,000. Just like 2, 3 years or more. Let's just say like two or a bit, okay. Let's say be like 2 years after usage or 2 or 3 years, the transmission started giving symptom of failure. This AMC, so that is known to be less problematic. I want people to pay attention because the Nigerians or other Peugeot users tend to take things for granted. So he started doing that thing, misbehaving. Started doing that boom sometimes and the rest, according to the owner. So I think I even drove the car once with that symptom. And I say, yeah, the issue was there. Or in fact, I didn't even drive. I think what happened was he brought the car to me. I entered, put it on gear. The way it entered, when I put it on drive, the way the car reacted, it was obvious that something was wrong. Immediately was entering drive, boom, the car shaked. So it was obvious something was getting wrong inside the gearbox. So I was okay. I suggested, hey, change the ATS, start with that first. So we used which ATM. It was this looking model Top Tech 1200, which is a good alternative for the AMCs for 4HP20. So the one we used for the first story I told for the 86, the ATF we used was this Total Fluidmatic MVLV, which is the recommended one. It's also that one is the Sun 6, if I'm not mistaken. So that point is that's recommended ATF for that gearbox. So it wasn't necessary about the quality of the ATF. It was the right ATF, but the gearbox there was not, the ATF couldn't save it anymore. In this case, so I recommended change the ATF first. So he first bought the first 4 liters, did the first drain. He didn't buy more than 4, did the first drain. The symptom, according to him, when he used the car for a few days, didn't go away. I think he said there was some improvement, but it was still there. He was still getting that jolt, sometimes that beam at the rest. So I advise you, because initially I told him do more than once. Don't do only first flush. No, or first drain. You have to, if you do that, AMCs drain, because only 3 liters will come out when you drain AMCs from the gearbox. The other 3.5 or 4 liters will still stay in the torque converter. I can't really say exactly how many liters that it normally stays in torque converter when you switch on the engine, but I know for a fact that it takes more than 6 liters, or let's just say more than 5 liters to fill it, the AMCs. That's when it's completely dry, including the torque converter. It takes more than 5 liters, probably 7 or so. So, but when you are doing the normal service, what will come out to be 3 liters. So, most likely, torque converter will take about 3 to 4 liters. So, he now came back and bought another 4 liters. And I did the second drain after using the car for a few days. Since then, the symptoms went away. Till today, this thing happened should be maybe 2, 3 years ago. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like 2, 3 years ago. That's when this thing happened. Till today, no more. And even the car, probably sometime last year, no more sign of, yeah, I think it was last year or so. No more sign of that transmission issue. Gone. So that's why I'm trying to explain to you people. First drain, when you drain the first time, don't expect that 3 liters will overcome or supersede the old 4 liters. It will even worsen it, because so you need to reduce the old ATF as much as possible in automatic transmission when you want to service it. So that's why I recommend more than more than 3 drain, or at least more than 2 drain. There are cases where person maybe doesn't have enough. The budget for the service is can only take 2 drain. Oh, okay, fine. Some who could also tell you it's only one they can afford, probably because of the high cost of the recommended ATF for this transmission. But it's still better than you only the old ATF, but it might not really solve the problem. So the only way to now solve it, let's assume you buy the car from new, then every 30,000 kilometer drain it. But then you now get, if you, in that case, you don't necessarily need to do more than 2 drain. If it's every 30,000 kilometer from new, I think the first drain might be enough. So if you do only 3 liters, it might be enough, because at that time you observe that when you drain the oil, what will come out will be exactly that same color like new one. I'll give you another example. My 607 V6 phase 2, which had AMCs when I got the car. The car, I got it at, what's the mileage when I got the car? Around that 30,000-40,000 kilometers. I knew it was, I think it was less than 50,000 kilometers. I can't remember. I think it was around that. So, remember, I've converted the car to manual. So, but before I did that, I was like, let me just change the ATF. Because by God, like I said, I got it around that maybe 40,000. So I knew they've not changed the ATF before from new. So when I drained it, it was around 40. Let's just call it 50,000. When I drained it, the color of the ATF that came out was exactly like the new one I wanted to pour in. So let me just, it was as if I was wasting the money. It was as if the ATF hasn't even done. It was exactly that red, right reddish color oil. So it was like I say, it was as if I drained the oil like the previous day, and the next day I decided, let me change it again. It was exactly like the fresh one I wanted to pour in. So in that case, there was no need for me to even do the 2 drain or 3 drain, because the oil hasn't deteriorated that bad, or it hasn't deteriorated. Let's just put it that way. It's just an engine oil. You don't need to wait for it to deteriorate badly before you change it. That you call it preventive maintenance. So you drain it before it becomes that bad. But like I said, engine oil is different. Engine oil is meant to change color to black once you drive it for some kilometers, at least up to 1,000 kilometers. It's not supposed to remain that original color anymore. It's different from the transmission. Even manual transmission, if you use the recommended oil, it stays the same color. So like I said, they differ. It's only when you use like mineral ATF in a manual transmission that they tend to darken a little before you do anything. But if you use that synthetic one, it stays like that, whatever color it was at that time when it was fresh. So until it burns out, of course. So that's the reason why I recommend doing that 3 drain. So like I said, it all depends on the owner. But once the symptom starts, you understand that you have a risk. There's a risk involved that you may do that 3 drain and the issue will remain, because the harm has already been done. Most times, from the color of the first drain of the ATF that will come, I will tell you, it's most likely this thing can't be revived. It's done already. You could be lucky and it will solve the problem. Uh, like in that case, the other guy case, the AMC case, the 47V6 case, it solved the problem. Unless maybe recently it has started giving the same symptom again. I don't know. The owner hasn't complained of transmission issue. So, but like I say, so far since about 2 years ago, it's been running well. Um, just that in that case, I wasn't the one that did the service for him. So I didn't see the oil that came out, that first drain he did. So I wouldn't know how bad it was. But since he got the car around 30 to 40,000 kilometers mileage, and and I don't think he has added more than 20,000 or a little bit more before he did that change. So I wouldn't expect it to be that dark yet, compared to the one that it had pushed almost 100,000 kilometers, about 90 something thousand kilometers before the gearbox started misbehaving. So so you now understand where you can use only the first 3 liter drain and without bothering to do the second change, which is if the car is being religiously ATF been changed every 30,000 kilometers from new. Yeah, in that case, yeah, 3 liters would be enough. Or where you don't have any there's no proof that it was changed, the ATM have been always been changed every 30,000 kilometer, or especially with the recommended one. In that case, you may have to do that 3 or 4 drains. Some people do it up to 4 times self drain. So in that case, maybe after doing that third drain, then you now religiously will be doing 30,000. You see, it all depends on you. I always tell people, if you are buying automatic transmission, be ready for the higher cost of maintenance. That's what comes with driving automatic transmissions compared to manual users. You have to be ready for that. If you are not ready, then don't bother, because you'll be having you'll be repairing it over every now and then. But if you don't want it to give you problem, then you have to be doing this, spending more on the ATF changing it every now and then. At least maximum, not even minimum, 30,000 kilometers. Don't let it exceed that. You might exceed it without any problem, but then you are most likely have started creating harm in the gearbox. By the time you now decide to change it, you will not solve the harm has been done. So whatever that is spoiled has already spoiled. So changing it will not solve it. There are cases where that even after, like, let's assume you do that flush or change the ATF after like 150,000 kilometers, and the oil is so black and burnt and everything. You might even, hasten or even rapidly increase the wear when you drain the old one. That's how bad it could be. So, okay, so I hope this has explained so that I understand why I recommend, or why I also did that, why I did that 3 drain on that transmission. All right.